Hey everyone, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and today we're going to be checking out a Sega Mega Drive 2 clone. And I got this from a place called Banggood.com. It's kind of like a Chinese Amazon, and they've got a lot of different stuff on there. And surprisingly, they have pretty fast shipping. I ordered a couple products, and they got here in about a week. So I'm not sure if all the shipping's that fast. It probably varies depending on what you order. I know they have products located in multiple locations, so the shipping time is going to vary. So if you want to check this place out, I'll make sure to post a link down below. So I got this Mega Drive 2 clone for only $22, and it comes with 2 controllers and built-in games. So of course, at that price, I was skeptical how well this would work, but that's what we're going to find out. So here's a look at the clone box art, and as you can see, it's very similar to the European version of the Sega Mega Drive 2 that was released in the 90s. But the console itself seems to be based on the Japan version of the Mega Drive 2. And here's a label on the box showing some of the built-in games, showing 388 and 1, but don't get excited yet because this label is not accurate, and we'll get to that in a minute. As far as the box goes, it showed up in pretty rough shape. It's made of pretty thin cardboard, but for $22, I'm not that concerned about it. So here's a look at the Mega Drive software library, and as you can see here we have Super Mario World listed. That's interesting. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside the box. So even though the box was in rough shape, everything inside was just fine. There wasn't any damage. So to hook this up to your TV, it comes supplied with a composite cable, yellow and white, nothing special. And for your power adapter, it comes supplied with a European DC adapter. So if you're not in Europe, then you're going to have to use something different. For me, I'm in the US, and I have an original Sega Genesis, and I was able to just use the power adapter from that, and it worked just fine. Also in the box we got 2 controllers, and the buttons are a little bit sloppy, but they still seem to work okay. But the cords are only 3 foot long, so that kind of puts you on a short leash. But if you want to use an original Sega controller, that works also. And of course, also in the box we have the console, and it feels extremely light. I mean, I can hold this with one hand no problem all day. So the plastic on the case is obviously quite a bit thinner than the original Mega Drive. So here's a comparison of the clone in the original Mega Drive 2 from Japan. And as you can see, they look very similar. It's also very similar to the US version of the Sega Genesis Model 2, but that version had black buttons and a black cartridge slot. And of course it was labeled Genesis, not Mega Drive. So here's a closer look, and it has a functional cartridge slot. We're going to be checking that out here in a few. It also has controller ports that are going to be in the same location as the original, and they also accept the original Sega controllers. So even though the console feels very lightweight and cheap, I really like the way it looks. So one very noticeable difference between the clone case and the original Mega Drive is right here on the side there would have been a port you could open so you could hook on add-ons like the Sega CD. So with this clone you don't have that option. So here's a look at your power and TV connection, and it seems to use the same type of connection that would have been on your original Mega Drive 2, but this connection is not RGB compatible. And here's a look at the manual and the installation instructions, and it has very clear English that's easy to understand. Well, let me show you. Step 1. The power must ensure that before the shutdown and the host state, and then use one end of adapter planted on the host adapter, the other end of the power. That makes perfect sense. No confusion there at all. Alright, let's go ahead and check out some of the built-in games. And on the top there it says 368 and 1, and that's not accurate. It's more like 38 games, and then a bunch of duplicates. So there's one game that has probably 10 different names, and some of the games might be from different regions, so they're using different names for that, but they're the same game. And to be honest, when I ordered this, I didn't know it had built-in games. It wasn't advertising it. So when I got this and I found out there was built-in games, it was kind of just a bonus for me. So even though there's not 368 games and the lineup's not that great, it's still a plus to me. Alright, let's check out Sonic 1. I'm assuming that's Sonic the Hedgehog 1. And right away I noticed that there was something off. So if you listen to that music and you know Sonic well, you know the music is running a little bit slow, along with the gameplay. So at first I thought, well that's great, it's running a little bit slow, that's why it's only $22. But after doing some more research, I found out that it's running in PAL mode, which makes your Sega games run a little bit slower. So if you grew up in Europe and you're playing the PAL version of Sonic, this is how it played. It played just a little bit slower. And if you grew up with it, you wouldn't have noticed it. But I'm here in the US, so this is very strange to me. So even though the game's running a little bit slower, the gameplay is just fine. And after playing it for about 10 to 15 minutes, I didn't really notice the slowdown that much anymore. But I have figured out a way to mod this console and make it run at 60 Hz, which is NTSC mode, which is what I'm used to. And it's actually a very simple mod to do. It just involves soldering 2 points together, and I'm going to explain that better in a future video. I'm going to show you a teardown and how to mod it and make it run at 60 Hz. But for review and demonstration purposes, I'm going to continue to run it at 50 Hz just so you can see how it runs straight out of the box. Alright, let's try out another game. Let's try some football. And because this is a PAL Mega Drive, this is probably going to be soccer. This is Tecmo World Cup. And I've never played this game before, so I noticed while I was playing, I didn't notice any slowdown because I'm not familiar with the game, so everything seems normal to me. So the controllers work good for the most part. I did have a couple of issues with games that require a lot of accuracy, like in Mortal Kombat when you're trying to perform combos with up and down and back, etc. It was hard to land the combos. And games like Pac-Man I have any issues with too, where you'd have to avoid ghosts by turning left and right or up and down real fast on the fly. And sometimes the controller wouldn't go the direction I'd want it to. But other than that, it seemed to work okay for most games. And some of the built-in games seem to be homebrew games. These are probably games you'll never play twice. The games I just mentioned, Pac-Man and Mortal Kombat, those are cartridge-based games I had. Those are not included in the built-in games. So here's a game that's labeled Mario Ping Pong. And obviously this game doesn't have anything to do with Mario. And there's also no Super Mario World. Alright, let's try some cartridges out. This is a multi-cart, 32 games in one. And this is an actual Mega Drive cartridge, so let's see what happens here. So we'll just pick a couple games to try out. We'll try Quackshot. I played this game quite a bit. Even though I've played this game quite a bit, I didn't really notice a slowdown in the game. And that's probably because I haven't played this game in about 10 years, so everything seems normal to me, and I can't tell this is playing in PAL mode. In fact, I actually had to play it in 60 Hz mode just to make sure there was a difference, and there definitely is. Alright, let's try another multi-cart game out. Let's try Bare Knuckle, which I believe is the same thing as Streets of Rage. I'm sure if I'm wrong, someone's going to let me know though. And again, I'm playing in 50 Hz mode, and I don't know this game that well, so the gameplay seems just fine to me. I'm actually really surprised how well this is playing for only being 22 bucks. Alright, let's try another cartridge. This is a US cartridge, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So if you're familiar with Sonic 2, then you can hear that it's running just a little bit slower. But the gameplay is still good, but it did take me about 15 minutes to adjust where everything seemed a little bit more normal. It's so weird to think that some people grew up playing this version of Sonic and this was normal to them. Imagine if they would have played a US version back in the day, they would have thought it was playing super fast. And again, I'm just super surprised that this $22 console actually plays pretty decent. And check this out, when I'm in invincibility mode, the music actually sounds close to what it should sound like when you're in 60 Hz mode. Okay, I got a Game Genie cartridge. It's time to test this out. I'm going to use Sonic 2 and the Game Genie and see if this works. So the Game Genie loads up and it goes to the code select screen. So I'm just going to punch a random code in here to test and press start and the game should start, but it doesn't. All it does is reset the game and it just goes in a constant loop. So the Game Genie is a no-go. Now I'm going to test out a Chinese EverDrive cartridge. This is a flash cartridge. And this cartridge works great on my original Sega Genesis. So let's find out what happens on the clone. So I already have a game flashed on there. I have Sonic 3 flash. And when I select play game, all it does is reset the menu. So it does not work either. This is a no-go. So here's my final thoughts on the Mega Drive 2 clone. Obviously the original Mega Drive 2 was a better product and it was better quality. But for $22, this clone is not bad. Especially if you do the 60 Hz mod, the emulation's pretty good. The fact that it can play Mega Drive cartridges and US cartridges is pretty neat. Although some of the cartridges don't work, like the Game Genie and EverDrive. The controllers are usable, but not great. After a while of playing, I just found myself using an original Sega Genesis controller, and that worked a lot better. Also, since this console is made of a lighter weight plastic, if it falls, it might break easier. So you want to be very careful with how you handle the console. So overall, I'm happy with this console. I would say $22 is worth it, but if you had to pay any more than that, I would say it's not worth it. You're better off just to save money and get the original console. But at $22, I can't complain. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. And if you like that video, please click that like button. And if you want to see more of my videos, just click any of these links.